What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chaotic Minds. As always, it's me, Winged,
And the midget.
and I don't know. Today's weird for me. It's
It
not really
feels
like
like
a
an
weird.
odd day.
It really does. Like there's something off-ish, and I don't know exactly what it is.
I don't know. We've just kind of been in that relaxed mode and just kind of chilling at home and ran a couple of errands and we just been kind of like blah.
Yeah. Well,
I think it might be centered on boredom.
Well, I think more, for me at least, it's more along the lines of I'm just now, like, finally getting over being sick. Thank you.
Hey, not my fault. You kissed me while I was sick. And then he swears up and down he's never going to kiss me when I'm sick again. I call bullshit.
But, like, I'm still in, like, that recovering, like, setup mentality.
That first couple of days when you start to feel better, you're just going to be like, and then you're going to feel worse again, and then you're going to be like, oh, I'm good now.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I do have one. I know that you have something you want to talk about, but I also have one that I want to talk about.
Okay. You first.
So, here today, one of the errands that we ran is we did make a run up to our local recreational marijuana store because I wanted to get you something to try to help with your migraines and whatnot.
Yeah, because God knows the doctors ain't any help.
Yeah. So I think the first thing I want to talk about is like it's a hot topic in some areas of the country.
It's a very touchy subject in some areas.
You know, but I want to talk about like legalization of like marijuana and weed and other substances of that nature.
Psychedelic mushrooms, Colorado.
Well, I want to talk about more along stuff like that. Like, should it be made legal? Should it be made illegal? Should it be decriminalized on a federal level?
I say decriminalize it on a federal level and tax the shit out of it. Because the taxes we're getting from the sales here being legal in Colorado has helped a lot of schools. And that's one of the things that I thought was weird and kind of funny about it is when they legalized it here, 80% of the taxes for it go directly towards improvement of schools and parks and like other things that don't normally get a whole lot of funding.
Right. Well, I mean, like, okay. So growing up as a kid, I don't know if it was as big or what time it became real big for you in school because you did graduate school 5 years before I did. But I remember when I was in elementary school and parts of middle school,
DARE program.
And as a whole, that program was a failure.
It taught you what to look for.
For those of you who don't know or who might be too young to know, the DARE program was an initiative started back in the 90s to prevent and educate children about
the use of drugs.
Bad parts of using drugs. And one of the big things that they talked about, I remember talking about, was smoking weed.
Yeah. They made it out to be this monster.
They made it out to be like, and at least in
a
Pennsylvania,
gateway drug.
They made it out to be a great gateway drug.
The only gateway it is the fridge.
If you do marijuana, you're more likely to try cocaine, which then is you're going to do heroin
and meth
and
oh yeah,
acid and dropping X and stuff like that. And it's like growing up, like I never had an inkling to try it. Granted, part of that was because like I didn't have any sort of interest in smoking weed, even though I had friends who did.
I tried it.
And the second part about it was my mom when my mom was younger, her brother, my Uncle Steve, would pay her to clean his room because he didn't want to deal with it. And he would grow and he would have weed stored there. So she got so used to having that smell. He also paid her for her, keeping quiet about it to my grandma, my Nona and Poppy. But she went ahead and she grew. She was able to recognize that smell. She told me when I was younger that if I ever came home smelling like grass, my ass would be grass. Um,
Yeah.
and I was terrified about that. I mean, my mother is one of three things in this world that I'm terrified of. And not like I love my mom. My mom is the sweetest woman I've ever met. She will give you the shirt off her back if it'll help you out. She will bend over backwards to help you out until you screw her over once, and then she's like, "Nah." And even then, she'll still
Suffer.
kind of like here, like one of those people. It's one
She'll
of those
help you
things
to
where it's
go
like,
away.
here, I'll put my hand out, but I'm not gonna reach. Like you have to meet me halfway to get my assistance in something.
Yeah.
Like my mom is awesome like that. But just growing up as a kid with the being told by not one but three women in my life, if you lay a hand on a woman with the intent to harm her, then you're done. And my great grandmother, my mom, has been gone since I've been 15, and I'm still terrified of that woman coming up out of the ground and pulling me into the ground if I ever laid hands on a woman with the intent to harm her.
Oh, you don't got to worry about that with me because I'll hit you back.
But like growing up, that thought terrified me, so I'd never tried anything. The first time I ever smoked weed, I had went over to a friend of mine's house after work. We were drinking, after we got done with work, and then we went over to her place to hang out, have some more drinks, and just party. And that was the first time I ever shotgunned a beer. And I baffled the shit out of her because I had never done it before. And she's like, well, the first time you do this, if you choke, just know that it's normal. And she goes ahead and she sets it up with me. And then we both start going at the same time. And I don't know if I like funneled it or like what, but like I power through that can like it's nothing. She gets about halfway and she starts choking. But that's also the first time I ever smoked weed, and I actually, it was an interesting experience being drunk and high at the same time. And I tried it a few more times when I was back home, and then I moved out here to Colorado, got high a few times out here, had something said to me by one of my exes about it. I'm allergic, and you shouldn't be doing that. And then turns out she ends up smoking. But then the last time I ever smoked, I overindulged and
He
was
greened
not
out.
ready for it. And ever since then, I don't have an issue with people smoking. I just won't. I prefer to drink than to smoke. You, on the other hand, you will get somebody
Every
has
once
weed.
in a great while.
For you, if somebody has weed and they're like, "Hey, you want to smoke this with me?" 9 times out of 10, you're like, "Yeah." Like you'll double check with me, which I don't understand why.
It's a safety thing. I
But,
always
like,
make sure you know what's going on and you're okay with it,
yeah.
so that if something happens, you know what to tell emergency personnel.
Okay, I get that, but like you don't need to like make sure that I'm okay with it. Like if you want to indulge, then indulge. I don't care. But going back to that DARE program, it failed in so many ways because it gave this at least in my perspective, gave like this air of like this is amazing or this is so cool or this that you're such a rebel, you're a badass, stuff like that. And it didn't, like, granted, keep in mind, I'm not going to ever do any of the harder stuff. Like, I'm not going to do cocaine, and I'm not going to do heroin, and I'm not going to, like, meth or nothing like that, because that shit will fuck you up. But, like, I was more okay with, like, weed and mushrooms and, stuff like that. And it's like, I mean, I was a smoker, and I still am somewhat of a smoker. And that was another thing that they went ahead and they were so against was tobacco. And, even now they have like the truth movement that you see on like MTV, and the people are pressuring the government to pretty much outlaw and get rid of smoking. That tobacco places, like any place that sells cigarettes, had to skyrocket their prices to compensate. Certain cigarettes are being talked about like getting rid of completely,
like menthols.
And it's like, granted, smoking not the best.
It's not the worst thing you can do.
Keeps me out of prison, but it's not real healthy for you at the long run.
Yeah, and see, I mean, for me, when I was in DARE, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me is, I don't know if you ever remember watching a TV show or something that had those old school sex ed videos. And what if I want to have sex before marriage? Then you better be prepared to die. And that's the thing, that that's what the DARE program reminded me of, is like, if you do this stuff, you will die.
Yeah.
And I mean, they made it a huge deal. And I mean, hell, we saw a demonstration of it, which was a kind of a comedic relief of that debate a few years ago with that politician that was running for as a presidential candidate. He was an independent candidate, and he was debating with another independent, and she was all big on this.
Well, she wasn't. So the person he was debating wasn't an independent. The person that he was debating was, I can't remember. I think they were GOP. I think they were Republican.
All I know is she made the claim that 70% of people die the first time they try marijuana, and he gets up, and I kid you not, he stands up, he goes and pretends to die on the stage, and I'm just like, oh God, yep, he's got my vote, just because of the smart-ass way he did it. I mean, they built up this program to be this end-all, be-all, this is the greatest thing ever, and this will keep your kids from smoking weed and doing drugs and all this, that, and the other. And it had the exact opposite effect. 90%, and I'm not even kidding you, 90% of the kids that I went through the DARE program with are either in jail for major drugs, or they are addicted to some of the most terrible substances on this planet.
Now, I've not kept track. Like, I've kept up in touch with like maybe one or two people that I graduated with. So I don't have that number personally. What I do know is that while I was in school, I did notice more kids were talking about smoking weed, were making plans to smoke weed after school, or, this, that, and the other thing. I had one dude
I smoked it in the smoker's pit.
I had one dude roll a blunt in class and had me as his lookout because he sat behind me all the time. And then he went ahead and he looked at me. He's like, "You want to smoke this with me?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good." But that was in high school.
And I mean, seriously, back to the comment about being a gateway drug, it's like the only thing it's a gateway to is your bed and the fridge. Because for me, it's like a calming effect. It's more of it's not that it relieves pain. It's just that you are at the point where it relieves it just enough. You can stand it, but it makes you really just like chilled and not really do a whole lot from there.
Well, that's weed.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about trying mushrooms or anything like that.
I debated on it once, and then I'm just like, no, they didn't even smell appetizing, and I was like, nope, I'm good.
But like,
and I don't put anything up my nose.
Here in Colorado, it's more like socially acceptable, to be like, oh hey, we're gonna go down to the dispensary. Do you want anything? There are some places that I've lived in before where it's like, you gotta like talk.
Utah is like
code, like
huge on code talk.
I mean, before Pennsylvania passed their whole, 21 medical, like you get a green card in Pennsylvania, and I don't know what it is now. I think they might be able to get recreational. I'm not 100% sure. I have to talk to my brother. But
yeah,
like back home, before Colorado passed their legalization of weed bill, like you couldn't even talk about doing that without having to speak in code or being like, yo, you got some. You had to go to some fucking side street dealer to get weed, or
Or
I
your
know,
personal grower.
you know, I know a buddy of mine has a friend who, you know, who does it, and you know, that kind of stuff. And now it's just like here in Colorado, it's like, oh yeah, we got like around here within like a 5 mile radius, we have like 3 or 4 different fucking dispensaries.
It's like Starbucks. It's going to be on every corner.
But that leads me to question: should it be legalized?
It should.
On a federal level?
It should.
Or should they just continue to leave it to the states?
I think it needs to be legalized on a federal level because then you can get federal tax money to, you know, get money going towards federal taxes and like taking down some of this deficit that we have, or to repair national parks. I mean, granted, the states take care of a lot of that, but there's a lot of states that have more poor communities than they do affluent communities, and so the affluent communities don't want to be paying for the poor people communities, and so they need help as well. And I mean, like I said, the great thing about the taxes that have come in since we have legalized it here in Colorado has helped a lot of schools and parks and roadways. Rocky Mountain National Park got its first upgrade in like 40 years because of these taxes coming from marijuana sales. And I mean, I think as long as it's regulated properly and there's better checks and stuff like control. That. Quality control, yes, but I'm more so on the edge of making sure, putting things in place to try to make sure it doesn't get into the hands of people who it shouldn't be in the hands of. Like people that aren't of the legal age.
Yeah.
And I mean, 21 is 21. Granted, I'm of the belief that marijuana really isn't a drug. So, I don't know. I have a differing opinion on that. Like, if you look back in Native American times, peyote, marijuana, they were both smoked very frequently.
I mean, the colonists, when we were just the 13 original colonies, you could smoke marijuana. Like, they had farms that had marijuana plant as a crop.
A national crop. And see, and that's the thing is, like, it wasn't until the big cocaine boom of the 80s when cocaine was introduced into the black communities that... Well,
no. I will say
it became a big stink.
No. I will correct you on that. The whole stigma with marijuana actually happened when paper companies and rope companies, pretty much anything that deals with like that similar style
hemp rope, and stuff. Yeah,
they went ahead and lobbied Congress, aka, and we've covered this already, bribed Congress to make it illegal. Make hemp and anything that dealt with that came from the product of the marijuana plant illegal.
Yes.
And so, I mean, like, back in, like, the 60s and 70s when, like, hippies were a huge movement, it was still illegal then.
Yeah. And like I said, it wasn't until, like, early to mid-'80s that it became a problem.
For me, like, growing up where I did and growing up how I did, I will fully admit there for the longest time, I fell in line with that, you know, you shouldn't smoke weed or you really shouldn't do anything like that. You know, cigarettes were okay. My parents smoked. Drinking was okay. My parents drank. You know, I had friends who drank and all that. You know, but like any like drug, no, for me, like growing up, that wasn't okay. But it wasn't until I got older that I was like, what's the actual issue with it? Alcohol is a drug. Tobacco and nicotine is a drug. Anything that goes ahead and affects you and interrupts or interacts with your brain in any sort of way that it alters it is a drug. So why are some drugs legal and other drugs are not? Like, that makes no sense. Like, marijuana is, I think it's a depressant. Like, it calms you down, so it brings you down. You know what else is a depressant? Alcohol. Alcohol brings you down. You know, caffeine is a drug. So like
it's considered an upper.
Yeah. Are mushrooms I don't know anything really about drugs.
Don't know too much of it. It's psychedelic mushrooms or psilocybin mushrooms. It's known by a couple of different things, but psychedelic mushrooms are a plant that gives that sense of euphoria.
So it would
and
be considered an upper.
Yes. But now, it's also a downer because it kind of just chills you, but you are tripping balls.
Yeah. Now, like cocaine, no, I don't think cocaine should be legalized because cocaine is highly addictive, and that will fuck you up. Marijuana, though, it doesn't really, like, it alters your mental state, but it alters it in a way where it like calms you rather than like makes you manic, you know. So that's my reasoning behind that. You know, same thing with like speed or meth. You know, it
fucks you up.
Meth is a chemical compound. Crack and cocaine is a chemical compound. You can't find them naturally anywhere.
No, it doesn't occur naturally. It's man-made. You have to mix. That's why they say you have to cook it.
You can get cocaine from like cocoa beans.
Cocoa plant.
Whatever. But you have to distill it and
add other chemicals.
Get it to a certain state to be able to
be consumed.
Smoke it or drink or chew it or however people shoot it up. I don't fucking know. But like marijuana, you literally take it off the plant, grind it, put it in a pipe, and smoke it, and it's all right there. Yeah. But like drugs that are
that's why I don't consider it a drug.
Drugs that are like chemically created, no, those are absolutely horrible. Those should stay illegal. But like the more the naturally occurring ones,
psychedelic mushrooms are a naturally occurring plant.
Make that shit legal.
Yeah.
Tobacco, naturally occurring plant. Should there be any sort of nicotine in it? Probably not. But because tobacco in itself isn't what's addictive. It's the nicotine that's added into it that makes it addictive.
Exactly, and it's not even really adding it, so to speak. It's how they process the tobacco. It creates a higher content.
Certain brands, like granted, tobacco is made by like a handful of companies, or like cigarettes are made by a handful of companies, and each company has a different way of
their own recipe, so to speak. Yeah.
There are some companies who they just take the tobacco, dry it out, process it, and that's it. And then there are other companies that they add things to it to make it taste better or to get people addicted or something like that. Like Marlboro, I've been a Marlboro person for a long time. Camel, same thing. They add nicotine to their cigarettes. You know, so that way it keeps pulling people in. But like, tobacco in itself isn't addictive. Marijuana in itself isn't addictive. It's the stereotype or the everything that goes along with it that makes it addictive. I mean, there are studies that have been going on, and like they've done it for years. People with eating disorders like anorexia, what they'll do is they'll slip in a little THC, like either they'll smoke it or they'll put it in an edible or something like that. And it makes the person hungry, and it has them eat. And it helps
Canna butter is huge.
It helps people with these eating disorders actually work on getting over them.
Just like the oil, the THC or the CBD oil helps things like neuromuscular disorders like Parkinson's, seizure disorders, pain disorders, like people that are in cancer treatments, they actually recommend that they have like edibles or oil or something of the sort. Not necessarily smoking it because it's just putting it into your lungs and it can create more problems, but like they have specific strains of marijuana that are good for cancer treatment, that are good for eating disorders, that are good for migraines, that are good for seizures, that are good. I mean, it goes down the line, but the thing is there's such a huge stigma and such a bad rap for it that they can't even do any testing as far as controlled testing goes. Like, I know somebody who moved to Colorado specifically so they could treat their child that has a number of different, they were born with some birth defects, and one of the things that they have to deal with is seizures and constant pain. And since they started using the THC and CBD oils, that 90% of the seizures are gone. And it's only a select few that last a few seconds, and which is not the greatest, but it's not harmful like those grand mal seizures that are lasting 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, like,
this child can go to school.
There are more benefits to legalizing that than there are drawbacks. Like, in my personal opinion.
Mine as well.
Mushrooms. They've been testing here recently about the benefits of doing the psychedelic mushrooms
on mood disorders.
On personality disorders, on PTSD.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've seen a massive increase in recovery and being able to treat that using
it's not
these
putting a
things
Band-Aid
versus
on a
the
broken
control.
bone.
Yeah. You know, so no, it regardless of what your opinion is. Not regardless of what your opinion is. I misspoke when I said that.
No matter what your opinion is.
No matter what your opinion is, there are always going to be drawbacks. There's always going to be benefits to
different things.
Different alternative ways of dealing and coping and healing. And ultimately the choice is yours on whether or not you want to participate in utilizing some products like weed or mushrooms, or if you think it's better off that, you know, we shouldn't be able to do this and all that kind of stuff. What I will say, don't do these things if you are not of age. Like if you're in an area where it is legal and it's perfectly okay to utilize this stuff, be of age to do so. If you're in an area where it's illegal to do it, don't do it and get caught. Like,
don't do it, period, but yeah, be safe about it.
Yeah, always practice safety. Like, if you have a moment of hesitation where it's like, maybe this isn't a good idea,
listen to that.
Listen to that and just be like, you know what, maybe next time.
And I mean, for me, like I said from the beginning, I didn't think of marijuana as a drug to begin with. But the one thing that I think may need to come about is those testing, the controlled testing. And one of the big things about it is, you know, they have all these drugs for mental health, for depression, for anxiety, and all that. And people have said that that has such a terrible effect on them. So why are we giving those to our children? Like, I mean, I would rather not have those harsh man-made medications on board and give them something more natural like marijuana rather than have them on those medications and have those issues.
Like
where
your brother, one of your brothers was on lithium when he was younger.
Both of them were. And lithium is terrible. And
we make batteries out of lithium.
And I mean, my brother Jeremy, when he turned 18, he stopped it. He stopped it, Period. He refuses to take it.
Well, I mean, granted, I still have opinions about that, about him.
And I mean, he's doing so much better now. I mean, he used to be a really heavy drinker, and something occurred, and since then he's like, if I'm having a beverage, I am not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, he's gotten to a point where he had a DUI at one point, and he crashed his car into a post for a bridge. And he's to a point now where he won't go anywhere even after one.
Yeah.
And that's huge. And I mean, he stopped lithium when he was 18. He absolutely refused to use it anymore. He was on a pretty high dose growing up, and so was my brother Patrick. But Jeremy stopped it completely because it was destroying his mental health.
Yeah.
Like, it was not good. It was good for the ADHD, but he had such bad problems.
Well, speaking of ADHD, I mean, when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADD
Ritalin.
and ADHD, and they put me on Ritalin, they put me on Adderall, and then they put me back on Ritalin just at a higher dosage.
And I mean, it's terrible. If you look into these medications, they're terrible.
Well, I mean, the Ritalin itself stunted my growth. Like, I was 4'11" going into 9th grade. The summer of me becoming a freshman, I stopped taking Ritalin altogether because it wasn't doing anything. And I went from being 4'11" to 5'8" in one summer.
And that shit hurts.
Hurt so bad. Like, I don't take baths. We both know this.
Yeah.
For me, taking a bath is like, you're sitting in your own filth. You're sitting in your own oil. You're sitting in all the crap that's on your body. And some people are like, well, just get a shower before you get into a bath. And what's the point then? Like, I don't see the point in it. It got to a point when I was younger that I would sit in hot baths and I would let it cool off to a cold bath to help my knees because they were in so much pain. We used to go up to New England and go to a beach up in Rye, New Hampshire for, every summer. And that summer, I remember begging every day to go down to the beach so that way I could go be in the ocean. And at the time of the year that I would go into the ocean, the ocean water was like 68, 70 degrees, like
it was nice.
66, 68 degrees. And I go in there and I would just walk around. I would just be in the water. I would let that water numb my legs. That way I couldn't feel them.
And that's why I say, like, these drugs that we're putting these kids on for anxiety and ADD and ADHD and whatever other mental health issues they may or may not have, it's destroying their bodies.
Now, I will say, in touching in on that, are there drugs that we have created to help with certain things that work better than more natural remedies? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, like, I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I believe in alternative medicine. I believe in, like,
essential oils.
And essential oils. No. If it's a problem, talk to your doctor about it. If you're having questions about, hey, maybe I'm having this anxiety problem, I'm having these issues, maybe I should smoke weed, talk to your doctor about it. Like, sit there and talk to a licensed physician.
There's no harm
not
in
your Aunt Betty from down the road who is an alternative medicine doctor and the power of crystals and essential oils. No. Talk to somebody who went to years of schooling to get a degree in medicine. Talk to somebody like that.
And I mean, some doctors are like, maybe this medication isn't working for you, so maybe we should explore this. And
Didn't you have a doctor that was like that? Like,
yeah, the one before Dr. Quackmeyer up here that won't put me on anything. The one I had, Dr. Gordon, he was phenomenal. He was like, okay, if this no longer works for you, we can explore other options. And this is before weed became legal recreationally here. And he said, we can get you a med card so you can smoke weed or have edibles. Or, he was into exploring all options. This doctor now, I tested positive for pot once and she took me off of everything. Like, it's that bad. She is so against marijuana and so against narcotics, saying that this is what's causing my pain. No, that's not what's causing my pain.
Is having to deal with people like her.
And that's the thing. It's like, if we're finding these drugs are being harmful to adults, then why are we giving them to our children?
Yeah.
I mean, I would much rather have like a weed pen or a CBD vape or however you choose to utilize it, maybe like an edible or something like that helps with anxiety and depression and severe pain from cramps. Like, my family has a history of really bad cramps. I mean, hospitalization level pain.
Yeah.
And if there is a more natural solution like marijuana or like CBD or like a THC vape or something like that, why don't we start exploring trying that? Because, yeah, I'd rather my children not smoke it because that's getting into their lungs and it could cause a whole slew of issues.
Well, and 2 of our children have
asthma. But if it's something that's going to help my child, I'm going to damn well explore it.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that our children have the best medical care we can. And if that means taking them to a doc that is going to listen and to give other options like marijuana or THC oil or CBD oil or something other than these medications that are destroying.
Or if something was to occur and, they would want to, try giving them mushrooms or something like that.
Just exploring more options rather than just saying, no, that's not going to help. You don't know.
The biggest thing,
it might not help one person, but it could help dozens of others.
The biggest thing that I want to draw a conclusion from, or, try to focus a conclusion from, or two, is we need to get rid of the stigma of all drugs are bad. Because they're not. Marijuana is not a bad drug. Mushrooms, granted, I've never tried them. I've not had the wanting to because I don't know how I would react to it. Not all drugs are bad. A lot of them are, but not all of them are. And that's the stigma
alcohol
that we
is,
need to get rid of.
And that's the thing is, like, they make this big thing about marijuana being a terrible drug and it's no good and da-da-da-da-da.
Alcohol is worse.
Alcohol is worse for you than marijuana. 10 times worse than marijuana. You can get high and you'll be like, I don't want to go a damn place but my kitchen or my bed. You get drunk and you're like, okay, let's go to the next bar, to the next bar, to the next bar. And then you're putting your life and everybody else's lives at jeopardy. Like, seriously, there are some people that can smoke weed and, like, just chill.
Now, we're not
don't DUI at all.
With any sort of, like, you can
drugs,
still DUI
alcohol.
with marijuana.
No,
it is.
Oh, yeah, you can get a DUI with marijuana. And that's the thing, is like, if you're smoking so much weed that you are dumb enough to drive, then yeah, you deserve to get tagged with a DUI or DWI or whatever they want to call it. But, dude, alcohol is way worse, and they've got that legalized for everybody over 21. Guarantee you, everybody under the age of 21 knows exactly where to get it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Just like weed.
People know where to get weed. Like, if you want weed, people know where to get it.
And that's the thing is, like, I would rather have it in a controlled setting. Like, if our children, like any of our children, granted one just turned 19 yesterday, so he's a legal adult, he can get into trouble him damn self. He can get out of trouble him damn self too. But like our 17-year-old or our 14-year-old, I would rather them come to us and say, hey, I want to try smoking weed or I want to try an edible, and have us give it to them in a controlled environment where we can keep an eye on them, rather than be like, oh, I'm not going to tell them I want to try it and I'm just going to go do it and I'm going to end up with something that's fucked up. Like when I was in high school, when it was illegal, highly illegal, I went to a party, I got drunk, I got high. Well, the marijuana had liquid acid in it. So I unknowingly took acid and I was fucked up. I mean, dancing on a table, naked with a lampshade on my head singing I Will Survive levels of fucked up. And I would rather not put anybody's children in that situation.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with alcohol. I would rather them try a sip of alcohol here rather than go out and get drunk and kill themselves or somebody else. It's like, why aren't we pursuing testing with marijuana? Why? Why aren't we doing it in controlled environments? And that's stupid. Guarantee you 99% of the politicians sitting on Capitol Hill right now have smoked weed.
Oh, yeah.
If not 100%. I'm sorry, because if you're in politics, you need to get high sometimes. Because,
Well, I think in conclusion, because I do have another topic that we want to talk about, so I do want to shuffle this along. In conclusion, we need to get rid of the stereotype that weed is the devil's lettuce and mushrooms are the devil's favorite topping. You know, we need to get rid of that stigma, and we need to be open to seeing and exploring
other options with marijuana.
Not only for the fact that it is a healthier alternative to some of these other drugs that are being produced, but it's also like fantastic. It's a great way to bring in extra money for whatever state you're living in.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where I'm going to draw my conclusion on that.
And that's the same thing with me.
You know a pothead and you don't smoke pot, talk with them.
Ask them why.
Ask them why, and then ask them like what it feels like when they are high.
And I mean, the last thing that I'm going to say is, exploring those other options like marijuana for pain. I've known several people that were addicted to pain medications.
Oh, yeah.
That they started smoking weed and they haven't touched a pain medication since.
Yep.
And they don't smoke it all the time. They smoke once a day and they're like, okay, end of the day, got home from work, have my dinner. Cool. I'm going to smoke a joint. Cool. They're good. And that's the thing is like, we need to focus on that. We need to bring that forth and do these controlled testings, do these human test subjects, like bring in people with different anxiety disorders, mental health disorders, and see if it might be a great alternative for them.
Yep.
And stop saying that marijuana is a gateway drug. It's not. It's a gateway to the fridge. That's it.
Well, speaking of alternatives to things, and I apologize about the pause there. I was drawing
He
a
did
blank.
a bad segue.
Yeah, shut up. You had something you wanted to talk about.
Pets.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what about them?
Growing up, my household always had a dog.
Okay.
We never had cats because my dad despised cats. He did not like them at all.
I don't understand why.
I don't know. Cats didn't like him. There's a reason.
That would probably be a good reason why.
But, like, we always grew up with a dog in the house. Sometimes we had two. But, those pets that you don't typically see in every household. Like, you don't typically see a red ear slider, which we have. I mean, our house is a miniature zoo. We have a dog, 2 cats, a red ear slider turtle, and a ferret. I mean, hell, I got in trouble and I got grounded for an entire year. And when I say an entire year, I mean an entire year.
No, she's not leaving.
Okay, sorry. Our daughter came in and said she was going to the park. Anyway, so I got grounded for an entire year. And keep in mind, I was 18.
How the fuck are you going to ground me when I'm 18?
That's why I left to the military. My dad grounded me. My dad and my stepmom grounded me because I went out and purchased my brother, Jeremy, a pet. He wanted a specific pet that my parents...
Was it a hamster?
No, absolutely refused. We had those. We had those growing up too.
Was it a gerbil?
No.
Guinea rat?
No.
Guinea pig?
Nope.
Was it a snake?
Nope.
Was it a rabbit?
No.
Was it a bird?
No.
Then I don't fucking know.
I went out and bought him a Peruvian rose-haired tarantula.
That is not a pet.
It was a pet.
That is not a pet.
She was the sweetest thing ever.
Spiders, and I'm going to say this for two reasons.
That's why I wanted to talk about it.
First reason.
He
I
says
have
fuck
arachnophobia.
spiders.
Okay. I'm terrified of spiders. Second reason.
Teeny tiny spider. He calls me to kill it.
Second reason. It's not a pet. We have spent years, like generations, like starting off at like when we first started living in like huts.
Caveman.
Now, like trying to keep spiders out of our house because they can bite and they can poison you. And depending on what spider bites you, you could die. And now we're making them pets? No, that is not a pet.
Yeah, it is.
It is not a pet.
Rosie was a phenomenal pet.
It is not a pet.
She was hysterical.
It is not. Spiders are not pets.
Rosie was awesome, though. She literally chilled. You could have the top off her cage, and she wouldn't go a damn place. You'd call her, she would come crawling up out of her cage.
Spiders are not pets.
She was awesome. She was hysterical. She ate the mice that got into the house.
Hence the reason why I can say they are not pets.
They are awesome pets.
They are not pets. Spiders are not pets. The fact that they hunt mice, no. The only animals that, in my mind, that if that are a pet that will hunt mice are cats and dogs. That's it. Spiders,
ferrets too.
Well, ferrets, but spiders are not pets.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. We will fight about this.
But no, it's like...
Maybe it's my extreme arachnophobia acting.
Yeah, I think that's the arachnophobia talking. But no, Rosie was one of those unusual pets that people are like, ugh, why do you have that? Why do you have that? Ew, I wouldn't even... We had people that wouldn't even
like
come
me.
to our house. We had people that wouldn't even come to our house.
Like me.
Once the Jehovah's Witnesses found out we had a tarantula as a pet, they refused to stop by our house. That's a win.
That's because it's not a pet.
It's a pet.
It's not a pet.
But she was awesome. I mean, he had her on his shoulder, and he would walk around with her in the house. My dad got so mad. You think you have arachnophobia? That man would light the house on fire, and he did twice.
I would light the house on fire.
But he wanted a different pet. And
so is the topic that you want to talk about alternative pets?
No,
it's to like normal, like what normal
having
things
having pets that are outside the norm. That
like ferrets.
Ferrets, turtles,
snakes,
spiders,
spiders,
things that people don't normally consider a pet or are deathly afraid of. Like, granted, one of Haley's friends' moms is deathly afraid of the ferret, and she like ran out the house. It was hysterical, but
But Thais has a squirrel.
Yeah, he has a squirrel, but it's outside. I mean, that damn squirrel, I swear to God, it's an immortal squirrel. Because either that or it's teaching its children and its grandchildren and its children's children, like down the ancestral line.
So for some background.
There
was a point in time where our son was taking the bus.
No.
No,
even before that.
Hang on.
The same squirrel's been around since before that.
When we moved in here, he was in middle school. And he would take the bus.
Damn squirrel.
I'm talking about this one.
Oh.
Not one beforehand.
Oh, no, it's the same one.
Anyways.
Damn thing has followed us.
He went out to sit across the street at his bus stop to wait for the bus one morning. Midget went ahead and I think you were sitting out there.
He forgot his school book.
Okay. But you had went out there to, like, see him off or to give him the school book or whatever. And you noticed that he, sitting beside him, I don't know, was it on the ground or was it on the...
It was on his leg.
Was a squirrel.
Yeah.
that
He nicknamed Ninja.
He named Ninja. Every day when he would go to school, that squirrel would sit out there with him. Every day when that kid would come home from school, the squirrel was waiting for him.
At the spot he gets off the bus at.
And he would walk him across the street and then wait for him to go inside, sitting on a fence that we have at the edge of our parking lot, watching. And then once the kid got inside, the squirrel would scamper off.
You do know that squirrel was in the apartment one day, right?
No.
Yeah, he was in the apartment when the boys had the room. Nathaniel was at an after-school thing, and Matthias had come home and opened the windows because it was really hot in there.
Okay.
And that was when that screen had popped off, and we couldn't get it on all the way.
Oh, yeah.
He was sitting on the windowsill. I walked in there. I was like, what are you doing in here? And the squirrel just chirped a couple of his little chirping noises and then walked out the window. It's like, he's like, what is that about? I was like, Ninja was sitting on your windowsill. He goes, oh yeah, he's been there since I got home. He followed me inside. Like, this squirrel, like, if he could have this squirrel inside, he would.
Oh yeah. I mean, and there have been like people, like we've seen videos on like, the dodo or something, those make you feel good stories that you see on
the
YouTube.
feel good stories, the ones that make you catch feelings.
Where like people will have squirrels or they have chipmunks, as pets, yada yada yada. Like, I could see that. Granted, I wouldn't want it because they carry diseases. Yeah, but like having one, making sure it's vaccinated, taking care of it, all that kind of stuff. That'd be kind of a cool pet. That's okay. Spiders are not pets. But like, I don't have a problem with alternative pets. Like, I love Sprinkle. Yeah, Sprinkle's the shit. Sprinkle is the emotional support ferret. Like, whenever you're feeling upset and she can sense it, she gives kisses. She'll come over, she'll give you kisses, and she'll just sploot. Attack your feet. She'll sploot on you. Like, she sploot, like, there's been a couple of days where you've gone to work and I've been here. Yeah. And I take her out to feed her, and I'm not feeling up. I'm not feeling, my best. And she can sense it. And she gets done eating, and she walks over to me, and then she just sploots on my leg and looks up at me like, hi, Dad. Splooting is laying out flat, just so everybody is aware. She's like, hi, Dad. And she just hangs out with me. She's fallen asleep on me twice. And she just chills. And there have been days where you've come home and you've been upset. And she'll just lay on my chest. She'll sense it. Like, you come walking in the door, and she's like, wait, Mom's home. Something's wrong. And it's just like she's trying to get out and trying to get to you. Yeah. And when we let her out and she comes over to you. Granted, she's a little shit. And when we get into an argument and she thinks Dad's right, she poops on my face. But like, she'll go ahead and she'll sploot on you and she'll love on you and she'll curl up on you or around you or whatever. Or want to play. Or attack your feet because she's trying to distract you. Like, she's a very playful ferret. But like I can see stuff like that. Snakes, I'm a little hesitant on. Not really hesitant. It's more along the lines of like. You remember those stories of snake owners, the snakes getting out and then killing their owners? Yeah, type like deal. That is a big thing for me. Baby ball pythons will not ever be big enough to do something like that. I understand that, but like, I like snakes. Don't get me wrong. I like holding them. Snakes are cool as shit. When I was younger, and we would have like those zoo people come in, there was a gorgeous yellow. It was a banana python. And those things are fucking huge, and they will kill you. Gorgeous coloring, right? Yeah. And the guy was like, who wants to hold? I need a couple people to hold it because it was a heavy animal. Yeah, they're 200-300 pounds. There were several occasions where I had like one of the parts that was thicker of that snake. That's the snake that would come in. They would bring the same snake in every year, and I would position myself in different spots. The reason being is I wanted to see if that snake liked me, because the first time that I ever met that snake, I was up near the head, and the guy was like, "You need to be careful because while it is rare, they do bite." And that snake creeped his head over toward me and looked at me, was right up in my face. She's like, don't move. She's just checking you out. She flicked her tongue out, and it hit me in the nose, and she like let it like on my nose there for a minute, and then pulled her tongue back in, and then just like wrapped up around me and had her head on my neck, and was just chilling there. And he's like, he's talking with the rest of everybody, and he's like, see, now she's asleep. The snake fell asleep, curled up, and like giving me a hug.
Oh yeah.
So like, I'm not like I like snakes. I like holding snakes. I just don't know if I see them as a full pet because I've never had one as a pet.
Well, we will be having one here in the next month.
I don't know if like you can play with them or like if they like how do you play with a snake?
You don't.
You know, it's that kind of thing. Like
no,
you can play
with
a ferret.
You can give them things to interact with in their pen or in their tank, but you don't really play with a snake because snakes are very they are fight or flight creatures. They are.
You can play with a dog. You can play with a cat. You can play with a ferret. You can play with hamsters.
You can play with that damn turtle out there.
I don't know about that one.
Oh yeah, he's fun to play with. He plays
like,
in the water.
I don't think like animals that you can't play with. I don't know if I would classify them as pets.
Yeah,
like
and I understand that.
For me, my definition of pet is an animal that I have that I can interact with, I can play with, right? I entertain them just as much as they entertain me.
Yeah.
That is a pet for me. I don't know about like these other like you really can't play with a turtle.
Maybe we should go get it early.
Possibly.
Since we have the fundage for it.
We'll think about it tomorrow.
After I get home from work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, but like you can't really play with a turtle.
No.
You can't really play with a snake. You can't play with a you can't play with a spider. Like there are certain animals that people are like, "Oh, this is my pet." You can't play with it. You know.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if I consider them pets.
Yeah.
You know, that's my biggest thing for that. Like and I know that there are plenty of people out there that are like, "Oh no, they are pets because of this or that or the other thing." But like look at cats and dogs, right? We've domesticated cats and dogs.
Yeah.
And there are many different breeds because of us.
Yeah.
You know, we've domesticated ferrets. We've domesticated birds. Can you domesticate a snake?
Yeah. I know plenty of people that will walk around. Like there's video of a guy on YouTube that walks around with his baby ball python on his shoulders. And he has a lollipop, and he'll lick the lollipop and point it over towards the snake, and the damn snake will lick the lollipop.
Sorry, I'm not eating that lollipop.
No, but no, like
my sister used to let one of our dogs, when I was growing up, lick her lollipop, and then she would stick it back in her mouth. Like, no.
That's too much. But
like,
no,
I don't... And
I will fight my cat for my fucking pork chops, though. Damn cat.
I will never put something in my mouth that was in somebody else's mouth.
Regardless if it's human or animal.
Yeah, like that's the whole reason why.
He kisses me and he won't eat off my fork.
Nope.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
But no,
Anyways.
like Haley, our daughter, has been wanting a snake for the longest time, and we told her that
Well, I think people like she was on an episode with us before.
Yeah.
That's Bug.
That's Bug. And she's had the desire for a snake for many years, since she was like 4 or 5 years old. Because she had those experiences at like the zoos and stuff like that, she was the only girl in her entire school to volunteer to go up to help with the banana python. Like, she fed the damn thing.
Oh, yeah.
And she, like, loved on it, and she gave it a hug, and she kissed it on the head. I mean, this damn girl has no fear. She has zero fucks when it comes to fear when it comes to these snakes. And if she could have a big-ass snake, like a huge python or a boa constrictor...
She can have one. when
she
she
moves
gets
out of our house.
old enough and she's not here anymore.
But no, like if she could have one of those growing up, she would, 100%. But
I mean, y'all did have a tortoise.
I mean, we had a sulcata, African spur-thighed tortoise. She is actually the tortoise in We Bought a Zoo.
Okay.
And because we got to a point where we weren't allowed to have her because they made it illegal and you had to have a special license and all that, we donated her to somewhere that could have her and take care of her. Anyways, like, she's had that desire for many, many years. And I've always told them, you know, on something that's a major decision like this, like a tattoo or a piercing or a pet like this, you need to be sure that you are ready for those responsibilities and ready to take care of it.
Yeah.
And she has said many times that she would like a snake. She would like a snake.
And for years, I've been like, no. And
in more recent...
You've went ahead and worked your magic and talked with me. And you have convinced me to allow it to happen.
And exactly. And it's like, it's one of those things where you don't know if a child is ready for a responsibility like that until they have that responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, like, when I was younger, when I was growing up, we had pets.
Exactly.
Like, we had dogs for a long time. We had cats for a long time. And then for one of my birthdays, my parents asked me, like, hey, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, I want a cat. And it just so happened that happened to be at the same time that one of my great aunts had a cat that had just given birth. And went over to her house and...
Are you talking about socks?
Yes. You know, I was looking at the cats, and what I did was I went into where they were, the kittens. I went into where they were having the kittens at, and I sat down. And I was just like, whatever cat seems to not have a problem with me, I'll be fine with. And there was a bunch of different ones. There was a lot of, like, my great aunt's cat, my great aunt, her cat was a tabby cat. So obviously a lot of them had a lot of tabby markings. But there was one that had tabby markings except for her belly was white. So from like her chin all the way back to her like between her legs, her rear legs, that whole section was white. The tip of her tail was white. She had a line of white going around her shoulder blades. And then her feet, her legs, were tabby until like the paws, and then she had 4 white paws. It literally looked like she was running around in her socks and underwear. This one kitten, walked up to where I was sitting at, climbed up on me, gave me a kiss on my hand, and then passed out.
The fuck out.
And I'm like, this is my cat.
Yeah.
And we had to wait until she was 9 weeks old. And then we were able to bring her home.
Don't ever take an animal away from their parents before it's time. It's a recipe for disaster.
But, like, my parents are like, you need to take care of this. It's going to be your cat. You're going to have to make sure she's fed. You're going to have to make sure her litter box gets changed and scooped.
She doesn't poop in your sister's shoes.
Oh, no, that wasn't part of it. But, like, they're like, this is going to be your responsibility. And I was responsible as shit for this cat. Anytime that the litter box needed changed, like, I scooped the litter box every day, and then once a week I changed out the litter. I fed the cat. I made sure, like, to let my parents know, like, hey, we're running low on food. You know, we need to get cat food, and they'd go out and get cat food, and you know that was that. I would come home from school, and she'd be perched on the end of the balcony on the banister, waiting for me to come in the door, shut the door, and then she would launch herself onto my back, curl up around my neck, and then pass out and just hang out with me all day. She did not like my sister, so she would
pooped
poop
in her
and
shoes,
and puke in her shoes. You know, and that was fine. And then we got another cat because my sister wanted one, and that cat was not trained, was not coming from a good place, you know, and that cat would poop, piss, and shit everywhere. And who got blamed? my cat. So my parents ended up giving away my cat and the cat that they had brought in that was for my sister that chose my mom. And there for a while, up until I moved out here and we got Abyss, I didn't have a cat. All I was surrounded with dogs.
Yeah.
And I mean, and there was a point in time where a friend of my mom had ferrets. Granted, they weren't like how we got Sprinkle. They were spayed and neutered, but they had their scent glands. They weren't descented. And so my parents were like, no, they stink, they smell, yada, 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 yada. And then I moved out here, and the first animal that I got, a pug, Shiza.
Shy.
That guy, my old man.
Old man Shiza.
And then the second pet that we got, Abyss. And then we got Juliet. And then you, without me saying, yeah, that's fine, got turtles. And then all but one of the damn turtles died.
That was before Abyss and Juliet, though.
Yeah.
That was back when I thought the kids were ready for a responsibility like that. And they weren't.
And then we got Sprinkle. So like...
She's a little shit that grows on you.
I'm all for like giving the opportunity to, prove that, yeah, we can do this. We can take care of these animals. But you want to do it with moderation and with a lot of supervision. Because I have a feeling that if it wasn't for you taking care of that turtle would be dead.
Yeah. And I mean, granted, he used to be really bad. Our son, Fish, Matthias, he used to be really bad about taking care of any animals.
Technically, Leo, the turtle, is his turtle.
But Leo loves me and will follow me every morning. I have a routine. I give him a little bit of his food and a little bit of his shrimp, and he eats it and goes about his day. He went from not taking care of the animals at all to he's gotten better. He's not the best at it, but he's gotten better. And granted, sometimes it takes a lot of reminding, but he still is doing a lot better than he used to.
Oh, yeah.
Haley, however, she doesn't care what animal it is. She will take care of Leo. She reminds Fish to put water in his tank.
Takes care of the dog. Or
takes care of the dog.
To take care of the dog.
She loves to bathe that dog. I cannot stand bathing that dog because I don't like the smell of wet dog.
She takes care of the cats.
Yep. And
she'll make sure, like, hey, we're running out of food.
And she'll remind us.
She can't clean the litter box because she can't do the smell of cat poop or
it's
pee.
the cat pee. It's the ammonia. But
and she loves coming in here and trying to steal Sprinkle from us.
Exactly. And she'll let her run around her room. She doesn't care. She just makes sure she doesn't get anything that's going to hurt her. And that's the thing that really changed my mind and got me talking to you about, yeah, let's go ahead and get her a snake, because she has shown time and time again that she will be responsible.
That, and you've also told me that snakes are relatively low maintenance.
Oh, they are low maintenance. As long as they have their water, they have their cage cleaned when it needs to be. They have their heater. They have,
Food.
They are fed when they're supposed to be fed. As long as they have all of that, they just kind of chill. And they're more of a visual pet. You give them things to interact with in their cage. You give them hides. You give them things to climb up, like a fake tree or a branch or something like that. And they're just chill. They're really cool. You can take them out and hold them, and they won't, do all this crazy stuff like dogs and cats and ferrets will, trying to run and hide everywhere. But they are relatively low maintenance. I mean,
the one pet that I will say is weird to have are fish. What is the point of fish?
It's fun to feed fish to Leo.
No, what is the point of having a pet, like a pet goldfish? Like my sister, when we were growing up,
I always had betas.
My sister, when she was growing up, or when we were growing up, she had a fish bowl with like the shiny like fairy kisses like stones.
The stones that are in
Yeah.
Leo's tank.
Yeah. And like a bubbler, like a little tiny bubbler, and she had a goldfish. And granted, she had several goldfish, but she thought it was the same one.
Yeah.
I don't see the
It's
point
sleeping.
in having. I don't see the point in having a fish.
I don't either.
What is the point of
like,
having a fish?
I had a beta.
That's like having snails. Like, what's the point of having snails? Or having like an ant farm? Like, what's the point of having ants? Like, we try to get ants out of here all the time. Like, what?
Exactly. And the thing is like with my
if you're a beekeeper, you get honey. Like, what do you get out of ants?
You
what do
don't.
you get out of fish?
You don't really get a whole lot. The one thing I will say that I loved about having my beta, and I've had several over the years, is you can't put 2 male betas in the same tank.
Yeah, that one's ours.
That's a recipe for disaster. They are called Chinese fighting fish for a reason. They will puff out their gills. They will flare up their little fins.
They'll attack and eat the other one.
They'll attack and eat the other one. Like, they don't even like Plecostomus, the sucker fish that suck all the poop in their tanks. They will eat them. They don't care. And that's what I liked about mine is that, like, if you put anything foreign in there, that damn thing will attack it. It don't give a shit. It's like the mentality of me. Don't put anything in near me that I don't want.
Well, you know, for the argument, they're a visual pet. You know, they look pretty. You want something that looks pretty, that sparkles when sunlight's on it? Get a bunch of different colored tinfoil, put it on a sheet of paper, put that on your wall where the sun comes in, and there you go. You got sparkly things. Like,
ooh, shiny.
Like, other than that, like, what's the point of having a fish? What are the points of having fish? I don't get it. Spiders are not pets. But what's the point of having a fish?
But no, like, I mean, having those, having her have a snake, sorry, I was coughing. But having her have a snake is like me having Sprinkle. It's one of those pets that it has a calming effect for her. And it gives her something to look forward to when she gets home from school.
You want a calming effect? Smoke weed. There you go. Calm.
Yeah, but that's kind of illegal.
Tie back to our first topic.
But no, like, she wants something that she can look forward to coming home to. She can look forward to, you know, interacting, like just watching what they do. It's like you going to the mall and people watching. She would just chill and just watch her snake. Granted, they sleep a lot, but, you know, it's something that she's always wanted. And she's at a point now where she's shown that responsibility. She's shown that desire for many years. And
which, once again, I don't have an issue with, hence the reason why
we're getting one.
Yeah. But
my house has become a zoo. People help.
I don't have an issue with alternative pets. Spiders are not pets. But it's one of those things where I can see like traditional pets versus alternative ones. And it is a pretty decent question. Like, what would you rather own, a traditional pet or an alternative pet? And most people, I would be willing to wager, would say a traditional pet. But there are the select few that are like, no, I want to be weird.
I want something different.
Spiders are not pets. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I really don't have anything else.
I don't either. It's kind of a short show today.
It's not short.
It's
not short.
Typically we talk about 3 things. Is what I mean by short, not time-wise.
Yeah.
No, like it like we said, it's a weird day.
Two-topic.
It's a 2-topic day. It's a weird day. Like we said before, it's just a weird day.
Anyways, thank you for listening. If you are listening on Spotify, you know, interact with the episode. You know, like it, download it.
Let us know some unusual pets you've had.
Oh, speaking of which, real quick, we are number 183 in Spain on Apple.
I have no idea how that happened, but thank you.
Yeah. So if you like what you hear, you know, subscribe to, you know, get notifications of when a new episode comes out. If you're on Spotify and you're listening to it, download it.
Yeah.
It helps, you know, it helps us out. If you know people who might be interested in what you're listening to, share this with them. You know,
Spread the love.
Yep.
Don't forget to love each other.
Don't forget to love each other.
And don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Anyways,
Bye.
have a good rest of your day, guys. Later.